Today we are back home in Night City. It feels so good to be back, even though I enjoyed my trip to Angel Shores, which was a lot of fun. I bought a bus company. If you didn't check that video out, check that video out. And if you haven't been following along, if you're brand new to today, June, we talked about some shit, did we not? Yeah, we talked about mental health, work, life, love, and got pretty vulnerable. And then needed to get out of town, so I went to Angel Shores. Not to be confused with San Francisco. It was Angel Shores. Okay? But, again, as you can see, we're back home in Night City. The city we all love. Well, yeah. So, to catch you up on that, basically felt like I had a connection with someone, and then that connection was gone. And I allowed myself to grieve for that. We talked about it and kind of touched on how life's going in Night City. I'm a delivery driver, and it is what it is. I'm not ashamed of it, yet there are certain kind of stigmas that I think, oh, well, I'm just a delivery driver. Like, no. I'm doing a cool service, and I get to help people in my day. So, it's actually a pretty cool job. But nevertheless, when you enter in the dating world, you start to assess yourself, how you could be better, all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, really appreciated the talks I had with my friends. It helps to talk about these things, and also, time. You just need the hours and the days to pass. Things get better over time. And there's a great quote that I love. And I don't know what the origin is, but it's that you have survived 100% of your worst days, or of your worst moments. Either or. And I thought that was quite profound, where when things seem hopeless, when you feel helpless, that if you can just get through the night, like that Styx song, just get through the night, you can accomplish anything. If you just get through that night. Now, what are the odds? I step in front of this car and she starts driving. Please don't be that lady today. Look at that. Some trust back in the world. So yeah, bought a bus company the other day. That was kind of crazy, right? But it was all in fun. And I explained why. It was just easier to do it that way. And then now I'm back. Just back to the day job, back to the 9 to 5 grind. When you step away from your home, you kind of appreciate it when you come back. So, yeah, work sucks, quote unquote, but it feels good. And like I said, I do like helping people. So, at least my day job is that. Hopefully we can grow from there. So I mentioned that I felt like I had this connection with this woman from work. And then, she didn't want to see me further, which is fine, that it's part of all of it, but, I think I took it very heavy because, I mentioned where it's like, haven't dated for a while and felt real again. That feeling of love and attraction, intrigue, curiosity. I was feeling all of it. And I felt like a part of my hopeless romantic self had died. I know that's a harsh word, but it felt like part of me died with my last breakup, and it just felt good that it's still there because it sparked ideas. She mentioned she was a vegetarian, and I'm not someone who cooks, and yet I was looking up vegetarian dinners that I could potentially make. And I got excited about when she comes over for maybe coffee or something, like, which mug is she gonna use? Stupid little shit like that makes me happy. I thought of all of that. So when that connection ended, it was crushing. And I mentioned it, but my therapist had mentioned how, it's okay to grieve for this. And how a revelation that was for me where, oh, no, it's okay to grieve that loss, to, take the time to mourn it and do what you need to do to get back to your regular standing. And yeah, it took a lot of mental pressure off myself. I'm not nearly as hard on myself as I used to be, because I would always look at ways to just pick myself apart. Oh, you shouldn't have said that. No, you shouldn't have done that. Oh, you were too quiet then. Now you should have said something there. You weren't funny enough. You didn't dress well enough. You don't have an exciting job. You don't have anything interesting to say. Trust me, I've gone down that rabbit hole of all the ways I can pick myself apart. And now, I don't do that as much. I'm not going to pretend like I'm on cloud nine, just like, nothing affects me, and actually everything is positive and great and wonderful. Because life is going to hit you in different ways. And I mentioned grief. Grief is not linear. That was another great quote I heard. And it's so true. You never just know. Something could trigger from your past that you go, oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a big loss in my life, you know? But I think that if you follow your heart and listen to it more and give yourself more credit and also understand that people are trying to do the same. Everyone is trying to be a better person. At least I hope. Nevertheless, a decent amount. The majority, most people, the good people that you want in your life aren't the ones that are going to want to stay the way they are. Doesn't mean, we want them to do a 180. That's not it. We all grow in different ways and different speeds. It's exciting. Like, even though there are some friendships that that are not alive anymore. These words seem harsh. Not alive, or they're dead. Friends that aren't in your life anymore. And just in the natural way of adulthood and living in this world, we all have our own lives, and people come in and out, and actually see that as something beautiful. Because, yeah, like I was saying, I have tons of friends that now I can kind of watch from afar and be like, yeah, that's awesome. I'm happy they're doing that. And that's what it is. It's, if you can tap into your empathetic side and try to see from a different perspective that we all have our own hopes and dreams, and we all want to be validated and loved or cared for. So let's be easier on ourselves, shall we? You've been so harsh to yourself with all these doubts, like myself, picking myself apart after a date doesn't go well, an interaction, for me, a delivery that doesn't go well. To just take a step back and, even though in the moment things can seem so intense, if you give something enough space, I think it lends perspective to you. I mentioned this before too, of at work, when people are angry seemingly for no reason, or if I'm, God forbid, 2 minutes later than the ETA of the delivery, it's easy for me to be like, well, they're assholes, and maybe they are, but also maybe they're good people having a bad day, having a bad week, having a bad year, every day painting a new smile. I've been there. I get it. We're all fighting a battle that no one will ever see. So try to understand that about yourself, your friends, strangers, people you've never met. Oh, someone's had too much. Boy, it sure is beautiful in Night City. So, in the aftermath of all this, trying to talk through my emotions, ride with my emotions, when they come up, to not avoid them, to confront them. Because I'm someone that definitely would avoid them in the past. But then, if you spend a little more time and say, well, why is that? Why am I thinking that way? Why does it feel like that? So, I've been going on what I call solo dates. And it's exactly as it sounds. I just go to a restaurant or maybe like a new store or a show by myself. And the idea is to get out of the house and to get a little more comfortable when you need to get out of your comfort zone sometimes. And what I have found is that it's never so scary. You go to a restaurant, you eat by yourself, no big deal, right? But of course, it's so easy to get inside your head, right? To be self-conscious about that. But what I have found is that when I've gone out to eat by myself, no one comes up to me and says, why are you here alone? Aren't you sad being here alone? Shouldn't you be out here with a girlfriend? Like, what are you doing out here without one? Well, you should have just stayed home. You didn't need to come out here. Nobody comes up and says that. You know what most people do? Most people mind their own business. And in a good way, most people don't give a fuck about you, man. And it's good. You can go to that restaurant that you've wanted to check out by yourself. Because I know I've done that where I'm like, oh, that would be a cool place to go on a date. And it's almost never like, oh, well, I should go check it out. For some reason, because I put value in it, I know that I'm like, oh, well, no, I need to be somewhere. I need to be with someone for this experience to matter. Yeah. And so now I've made it a goal of mine to check out those places I've wanted to check out and to be okay going there by myself. Because also now I'm starting to build up more of a list of like, oh, well, this place actually would not be a good place for a date because of X, Y, and Z. Or, ooh, this place would be cool to go on a date. And it just gives me a little more ideas, and I get to is he turning around? You know what? We're not gonna risk that today. The park in the glen here can be a little sketchy. Just like that up ahead. It's my cyberware letting me know. Troublemakers. So maybe we'll just go this way. So, yeah. Just go to those places. You will be fine, and I'll admit, yeah, it's definitely tough the first couple times where you're kind of like, oh, like, what do I do? Like, people looking at me, or am I just, if I'm not on my phone, like, am I even doing anything here? Like, to look like you're doing something. Or you see, of course, like, someone else on a date. Because inevitably you're just like, oh, I was really hoping that could be me. Or you see a group of friends and you're like, oh man, I wish I still had a friendship like that. Whatever it is that gets into your head about social interactions and being out in the world. After a while, you can kind of settle into it. At least I'm finding that I'm not as fidgety. I don't feel the need to make it look like I'm doing something. Because I'll admit, I think the energy I was trying to give off was that if someone, like a great detective or something, was going to come up to me and be like, hey, what are you doing here by yourself? Why are you all alone? If I'm on my phone and I'm kind of looking around, it's like, well, maybe I'm waiting for someone, But, like, no. Like, why do I need to mask that? I don't. I can just be like, hey, I saw this restaurant. It looked good to me. I thought I would check it out. So here I am. Something you might be thinking, well, yeah, I do that anyway. It's not as easy for everyone. And that goes back to my thing about, we're all fighting a battle no one's ever going to see. So, I get anxious and a little bit nervous about going out. But I take those emotions with me. I bring them right along. Put them in the backseat of the car. They're coming along for the ride. Because then I get to experience joy. The joy of finding a new restaurant I like. I'm surprised. Surprised that, oh, it's not actually as scary out here. And, yeah. So, I've been trying to do that a little bit more and more. If a weekend comes up and I feel like I'm being inside my head and not wanting to get out, that's exactly when I should. Oh, look at that view. And here's another point. I just started walking. I didn't really have an agenda of where I was going to go. Even in my new home, because I'm not originally from Night City, but still, it's my home now. It's fun finding new things to love about the place you love. Alright, now this might be a little iffy. Wow, traffic's not so bad. Almost looked like a car disappeared, in fact. Isn't that just nice? And definitely moments like this, getting out of my stuffy little apartment and coming out and seeing the great big world. Or wherever you are, little or big. Getting out. And for me, I don't get too much nature. I live in a very big, mega corporated, metropolitan city, but you get the idea. Fresh air. Even if it's sometimes maybe polluted here, let's not get into that. To get outside, go for a walk, clear your head. And however that looks for you. I tried music, podcasts, stuff, but I find for me just trying to keep that phone in my pocket and not needing sound from a different device. Just taking in the real world. I don't know why that kind of gave me shivers a little bit. But yeah. So, that's what I've been doing. Just trying to enjoy the time that I am by myself. Because I think for far too long I was maybe lamenting it. Another Friday by myself doing nothing. Oh, it's a beautiful night out. Maybe I should go to a patio with no one. So I'm trying to change that thought. No. It's a nice night out. Yeah, you don't maybe have someone to go with. You can go by yourself. You can still enjoy the weather, enjoy the patio that you want to see, and start getting comfortable with that idea of it. Treat yourself, as they say. That's what I'll leave you with. Treat yourself.